How are you guys going? All right?
Doing well.
Good. Good. You look like you've got your microphone and video sorted out. I think others, I can just see these blank spaces. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been a few weeks since we had one of these chats. I put a chat on a little while ago, and I hit the transcript button instead of the record button, so I had nothing left over afterwards to share with anyone. And then we also did I did a podcast for Shooting Times magazine, and I thought that was going to go out, but apparently it was too controversial, so that got buried. So that was the end of that. Yeah. So anyway, onwards and upwards, as they say. Yeah.
What was so controversial about it?
Not probably the things I said about trends and how the influences as far as cartridge choice and shooting technique and what people are using on really big game. The cartridges are getting much smaller. And is that you, Dusty?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think some people that I work with, this is only some people struggle with, is that as you know in the book series, one of my concerns is military trends or training, which affects hunting technique, and then also how target shooting affects hunting. And then in addition to that, as I said in the shooting book, there's the movie industry. So you've got the influences of the movie industry, which should really not have any effect on military at all, but it does. And so you've got this sort of cycle, and then you've got all that corporatization in amongst it as well. So it makes it hard to cut through the dross. And then when I talk about it, it sounds like I'm getting down on the military, but my concern is not that at all. It's quite the opposite, actually. It's we wanting to send these guys, young people, out to do this job, and there's a reliance on technology and equipment which concerns me. And if the training isn't right, well, yeah. But anyway, those are those influences from the book series. But then when it comes into this target shooting side of it, and then that's hard too, because then it sounds like I'm really getting down on target shooters. And it's a wonderful sport. Anyone who achieves success with it, I mean, gee, that's just great for them. What an achievement. But at the same time, it shouldn't really influence hunting, because it can have quite a negative impact on it. The cartridge choices, shooting methods, the whole lot. So yeah, at the same time, without target shooting, we wouldn't have some of the excellent bullets that we have. So I've also got to sort of be careful what I say. I mean, a lot of what I say could easily be contradicted. So it's just got to be taken within context. Yeah. Anyways, how are you guys been?
Doing well. Yes.
Good. I'm hoping that as we get more into this, as the weeks or months go by, if guys have technical questions that they want help with, or just even field work, like if they're at their range or something, or at their reloading bench or bedding a rifle, that I can put this time aside to actually work through bits and pieces, and we can all learn together. But anyway, we'll just see as we go. I've lost a lot of traction. I was had a good presence on YouTube some years back, but then during the mandates, I stopped posting on YouTube and pretty much stopped using it for a while. It's actually the algorithms have changed too, because I don't monetize. I don't put any adverts on our YouTube videos. They get ranked quite low now, so it's changed a lot. It's very difficult to get traction back, but as Riley keeps saying to me, well, it's good, because working with a smaller group of guys, you can actually get to business and help people out, and not you're not worried about stats or anything like that. So yeah. So having said that, does anyone have any pressing questions?
I know some of your thoughts in your writings on copper bullets, and I guess just kind of your thoughts overall on trends that seem to be moving toward more non-lead bullets.
Thoughts overall? It's a concern because, a lot of the stuff that's out there, well, I mean, it works okay at close ranges, but as soon as you push the ranges out, or if you're using a low powered cartridge, your wounding potential becomes a lot lower because the projectiles cannot produce the same level of hydraulic force, as a lead core projectile, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, they cannot deliver the same energy levels because, of course, lead is a much denser material. So for a given size, it carries a lot more weight. And of course, kinetic energy is mass times speed develops kinetic energy. So to actually have energy on the target, you need to have that weight. And if you take that away because of the material limitations, then you're already down one thing. And then second to that, you've got the inability of the material to actually, it's not as malleable as lead. And so its ability to actually, because kinetic energy only exists as potential, of course, it needs to actually be made into something real and physical. And with lead, that's very easily done. And, it can actually transfer that. So then it becomes hydraulic force after that. And then it's shifting water away from the bullet path and causing, disproportionate caliber wounding. But in addition to that, of course, you've got mechanical wounding from the particles when a lead core bullet sheds weight. It's producing a lot of particles in the absence of high velocity. So that wound is disproportionate to the expanded caliber of the bullet. But as you lose velocity with a copper bullet, of course, it becomes proportionate to the expanded caliber of the bullet. So if you're not right on the money with your shot, then you're going to end up with a lot of slow bleeding. But there are one or two bullet makers producing weight shedding bullets, where not just the pedals, but a major portion of weight. That would be cutting edge, would be a primary example. But the trouble there is to get the bullet weight up. The projectiles are huge. They're really, really long. They take up a lot of case space and magazine space. So yeah. I've been studying it a lot more in the last 2 years. I've just been really, really focusing in on it and going over my work to make sure I'm not biased. And I've been putting the projectiles into the lathe, cutting them open, studying them, cutting them lengthways, and putting them on with a dial test indicator onto them to actually check the thicknesses that way, how they're drawn. And I think one of the main things I've discovered is that very small things make a huge difference. And just the difference when you're drawing a conventional bullet, which people just talk about them as though they're just a simple, it's just a cup and core bullet. But actually there's a lot of stages to make that projectile. And as it's going through those stages, that has varying effects on the taper and the jacket. And then how far you bring the lead up the ogive, and then the forming stresses, how much forming stresses you have in the ogive, and then what you're doing with the tip as well and the jacket mount. There's so many little ways that performance is manipulated. Now, a lot of this might be just happenstance. The end result might be happenstance, and then we go, well, this bullet is great and wonderful. And it may be exactly for the reasons, how it was designed. I think a good example of that would be the SST, where you've got quite a heavy jacket, but there's deliberate steps there to draw that thinner and thinner and thinner as it gets to the tip. And so for that reason, I mean, they've called it the super shock tip. And it's one example of where the marketing isn't bullshit, because it delivers on what it says. It's an okay description for it. But anyway, the point being, there's lots of ways you can manipulate the performance of a lead core bullet. With a copper bullet, there's only so much you can do without it costing a huge amount of money. So I mean, one of the first things you need to do is machine it rather than use impact extrusion, unless you're willing to go through annealing steps. And then from there, there's it's just more and more machining and you know, adding to that, putting tips on and things like that. But there's only so far you can take it because of those material limits. Yeah, but it's hard because the trend is towards 100% weight retention. Someone asked me about a iterant of the trophy bonded bear claw. It was the terminal ascent, and that in its own right, you know, was a good projectile, but it goes through all these rebranding processes where it starts as the trophy bonded bear claw, then it was given some other name, I can't remember what it was just off the top of my head, and now it's called the terminal ascent. But all the way through it's been the same projectile. I've just tweaked a few things, but that projectile does have a little bit of lead in its ogre, but the rest of it is a solid copper form. But that is an example of where they're marketing it as a long range bullet, and they keep pushing it for those reasons. But there's only so much you can do with a very tough projectile. But that's what people think they want because they don't understand long range killing or low velocity killing, I should say. Sorry, that was really long winded.
No, that's okay. Is it possible to slightly offset so if we're, say, dealing with the 300 Winchester Magnum, for example, rather than using a 180 grain cup and core bullet, if you reduce it to, say, 150 grain copper bullet, you get the extra velocity to get some of that energy
hydraulic
back.
Force, yeah, to
Correct.
get that hydraulic force, yeah. That's the way to do it. And that's, you could also contradict that as well. But if you're running a 130 or a 150, you can drive that super fast, and then because the goal, let's say we're talking about a Barnes, the ultimate goal is to keep it above 2,200 feet per second at the target. That's what you really want. At 2,200 feet, the wound is really starting to diminish. I mean, ideally you'd have it above 24, but you can push it to 22. Once you go down below 22, the results start to become unpredictable. In some cases, some Barnes bullets won't actually expand all that well. In other cases, it does expand, but when it does expand, the wound is only, you know, let's say a ½ inch in diameter. And if you've missed the lungs, you hit between the lungs and the liver, or just behind the liver and the gut, you're not going to kill that animal, and you may not get a second shot if it runs off. So yeah, but so we just have to remember that if you do run a light bullet, when you do push it out long, it doesn't have high kinetic energy. So it's kind of it's almost a misuse of energy. But yes, you're right. That is the way to do it, providing you're not pushing it. Yeah, I think across the board with a lot of projectiles, it doesn't matter what they are, how they're made. As you go further below 160 grains, and you're getting into 130, 120 grains, out long, where the kinetic energy is quite low, they can struggle to actually expand. So yeah, we do overcome that with, we can, you know, use a high bullet weight and soft construction to offset that. But in this case, no, you do exactly what you said. You set your range limitations, and you just load it as fast as you can. The downside of that, of course, is you wear your throat out really quick because you've got that much more heat and erosion from gas through. So really you want to be polishing the throat of the rifle on a regular basis. And when you're doing your target work, just keeping it really cool. But yeah, you've nailed it. Yeah. Yeah, but in hindsight, in the 300 Win Mag, you could run the 180 grain cutting edge as long as your magazine box is long enough. And it's a tipped bullet. It's the laser projectile, and you can kind of have your cake and eat it as long as you can fit it in there. That's the big one, and as long as it's accurate. And that one you can just treat it like a, you know, for the most part, like a regular cup and core projectile. The fragments aren't as many, and the wounding isn't quite as severe, but it does actually have that potential to dump more weight than the other designs that I've studied. Yeah. So your two approaches, I think you probably find the Barnes is cheaper, but then is it cheaper in the long run if you wear your throat out? But yeah, you've got it. You've got it. Yeah. And you can get quite a bit of reach too with a with a 130 grain that's zipping along. It's for most people it's well and truly enough, but yeah, that's good. If you've got a big cartridge to start with, then that's great. Yeah, and we may see more and more of that, And Dusty, how are you getting on with everything? All right?
Yeah, no, I'm all good here. Just gonna go
Good.
for a goat shoot up near Mocal later today.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
cool.
but
Yeah, well, we've spent some time together at the range soon. We'll just wait for this weather to cool off a little bit, and
yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah.
yeah, wait for
Um,
this bone graft to set in my jaw, and then we'll be into it.
yeah, yeah. I've been slowly tempted on Trade Me. I saw a 7 mil Rem mag in a Remington long range platform,
Okay. Yep.
and put a decent price and stuff like that. And the guy
Yep.
is selling it just because he wants something lighter for weight.
Yep. Okay.
I'm not really overly concerned about weight, but it'd be taking it to the tops and stuff like that. But I think with a Slatron scope, I think it came in at
12 pound.
8.5 pound, something like that. No,
Yeah.
5.7 kilo, something like that.
Yeah. They are.
Yeah.
They are a relatively heavy rifle, so you'd
Yeah.
call it a quad bike rifle.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can around the hills in Taranaki, you can lug it about, but yeah, you wouldn't want to be taking it too far anywhere else.
Yeah.
But it's a good platform though. You've got the 700 platform there ready to go.
I
Yeah,
probably don't need it. It's just kind of a want, but we'll
yeah,
I'll stretch my legs on the 308 first, and then go from there.
yeah. Fair enough. Where was that rifle for sale? Was it at Hunting and Fishing? Trade Me, was
No,
it?
no, the Rem mag or the 308?
The Rem Mag.
That's on Trade Me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think it was with a Citron S-Tech 4-20 scope, I think, and I didn't really care about the suppressor
Yeah.
and Tidney trigger and all that. And I think he was
Shit.
selling it for $1,800 or something.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah,
That is a good deal.
yeah,
Shit, yeah. Because if you look at the price of Timney triggers at the moment, they've shot through the roof. Just check to make sure it is, the trigger that you actually want, and
yeah,
because they split their models, and now to get one that goes down to 1.5 pound, you've got to get the HIT hit unit. There is, yeah. So the other ones are a little bit higher, but as long as that's all right, it could be quite a nice rifle, and it might not be quite as accurate as he wants it, but has it been bedded?
yep,
Because there was a few guys that bought our bedding kits, and the way they went with them, and they seem to go right. So then you want to sort of work out how many shots it's had through it, because he's just selling it just for weight only, because the thing with Trade Me is they sell them and they say, oh, I just want to get onto a lightweight rifle, but the bloody thing's not shooting straight, and that's why they're getting rid of it. But even in those situations, you can sometimes work out what's going on, give it a bit of a lapping,
yeah,
and get it running again, because there's actually a lot you can do with lapping, and to bring them back in, as you did with that the Remington 700 video, and the troubleshooting video, and also the accurizing book, of course, I've got all that. So yeah, there's a lot you can do. And then if it worst comes to worst, you could probably bloody ream it to 7mm practical, give it one more go, see if it works, and if it doesn't work, then you're off for a new barrel.
yeah,
So yeah, there's a few ways around it, but it is a little bit of weight, but that doesn't have to be forever. Blued action's not such a bad thing. You get a little bit of rust on that, well, who cares?
yeah.
But generally, if you look after it, that's all right. Yeah, shit, $1,800 for the trigger on the Citron. The Citron itself at the moment is worth about $1,200, eh?
Yeah.
And the
I
trigger,
don't know.
that's the trigger on the Citron only. That's the value of the rifle.
Yeah. So I looked for a Tidney trigger for my Bagara, but I couldn't find one, so I ended up buying a Vixen Andy trigger Dakota.
Yeah.
And I think I've got it down to 1.8 pound, and it could go lower, but I like the trigger. It's a good trigger.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, yeah. Food for thought. Yeah. It's just all it is a little bit of weight. That's the downside of it, and that's it.
I don't know. I carried my other rifle the other day for 4 days, and I was fine. Didn't bother me. So what's an extra couple kilos?
Yeah. There's a few guys carrying. It depends. I think also what you do for a day job. If you're working with your hands and arms, then it's no big deal.
Yeah.
But as you get away from that, then it does become a problem. Yeah. Who we got there? Craig. How are you, Craig?
Good, Nathan. How are you?
Yeah, good. Where are you coming from?
Australia.
Yeah, no, which part of Australia?
Victoria.
Oh, Victoria, Samba country.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Good. Well, it must be, what's the time there? Just about 5 a.m., something like that? Or
5:26.
sorry, got you out of bed early.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Oh, good. Is there anything we can help you with today?
No, because I've grown a beard, so you probably don't recognise me.
Oh,
but
Craig Pryor.
yeah, you.
Yeah. You've become a hillbilly.
Yes, mate. I have.
Oh, shit.
So I've been trying to get on for the last 3 chats just to, be supportive of yourself, and I've either gotten up too late or I've had technical difficulties because I'm not that computer literate. So
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling.
yeah. So today I've set my alarm and I did some pre-testing with Brave, so I'm in today.
Yeah, that's the one. Oh,
Yeah.
good. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And the kits, are they still selling well?
They are, yeah. It's like, well, I don't know much about the marketing and sales on the online, but
Yeah.
I know that it's been probably 18 months, 2 years now, and it's now starting to get some momentum. And I
Good.
think a lot of people. You're on a podcast over here, one of the Australian hunting podcasts,
Oh, yeah.
talking about copper bullets.
Yeah.
And I think those type of forums and platforms, and the fact that I'm probably learning a little bit more how to market online. It's this year it's taken off.
Good.
And the guys that have taken the product and using it are having really, really good results.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So I've got them now to send me some photos of their work when they've done
Yeah.
their bedding jobs. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try and market through my
Yeah,
platforms
it's-
here
Yeah.
to show the outcomes.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, Nathan, I've been supporting you for 15 years, so yeah. I read all your books and I'm still learning as I go, but it's definitely improved my hunting and shooting, and I've been doing it since I was 8 years of age. So you can always learn something new.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Craig. And your mate who does the leather work, still no interest in doing slings at all? You reckon you couldn't get a sling?
Well, no, he would. There are a number of leathers. The leather side of the stuff that I put on the website, it's going very slowly. It's not like I don't know. It's not like something that can. There's thousands of it. There's Chinese stuff everywhere, and
that comes down to education as well. Like, if you look at the Butler Creek, they're one of the only ones making a leather sling, and they make a couple of variants, and one's got all sorts of crap attached to it, and friggin' the cordura and all that rubbish, and then they make one true Cobra leather sling.
Yep.
And you think, oh, this is great, and you get the damn thing home, and you still got to put the bloody holes in it to actually make it properly adjustable. And it's just like you just want a basic, tapered, sort of wide where your forearm or shoulder is going to be leather sling. And then a piece of a leather tie that you'd use on a Western saddle, just a leather tie, which at the bottom end, so where it loops at the bottom through your lower sling, rather than having a brass stud through it. You just have this leather, and you just stitch it through it, and you don't even tie it up. The leather just grips it, and then you're good to go. And it's such an amazing thing to have that sling. It's as vital as like it can reduce your groups, you know, by a factor, by a noticeable factor. So let's say someone's got a gun and they're hovering around 0.7 and they always wanted to get to 0.5, but their bloody rifle won't do it for them. And, you know, it could just be a friggin' neoprene sling that's actually doing it, and they don't even realize it. And if they can just go to a wide leather sling, it will put them in that 0.5 zone. But do you think you can educate people to do that? You know, via a website? No, because as you say, that the Chinese stuff that's out there, people just think that's good enough, and they think it's light. So that's the biggest thing, they want light. But if you ever get a chance to trial a few on the website, and then put a little bit of a blurb in about you know, that it will help you shoot straight, that you know, and also the adjustment, how quickly adjustable it is. I like to have them adjustable for clients. You know, if the client wants to use my rifle, I want to be able to just change it up, but not with all that friggin' plastic buckles and all that crap, you know. Our business model is about helping people and doing the right thing. So that's absolutely number one, and then everything else just it doesn't matter. But because of that, we have had to go through very, very hard times when we were building the business. That was just grueling, man, because I'd spend 4 hours a day answering emails and helping people, and it's all goodwill, you know, you're paying that forward, and but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. But I think that, and I think a lot of businesses don't realize this, people have had a guts full of just having shit marketed at them, and they're looking for that. They actually want to support someone who wants to support them. You know, they're looking for relationships. And and so I think a lot of people aren't reading the room. A lot of businesses aren't actually reading the room. And those old ways, even just a few years ago, of marketing and success and all that, I think they will eventually die out because people just had a guts full of it all. You know?
Well, plus I'm retired, Nathan, so you know, I don't do it 5 days a week. You know, like the reason I got into it for is I couldn't buy a tub of your product for one of my rifles.
That's right.
Remember? And I said to you one day, so how the hell am I going to get a tub over here? And he said, well, if you become a reseller. And I said, well, what do I got to do that? And I had to buy 500 tubs to get one tub. So that's how it all started. So, it's an expensive exercise to be able to bet one of my rifles, but you know, but it's been good. It's a good education, because I think that, like I said, if people come back and said, no, I think it's no good, but I haven't had one negative comment yet. So it's obviously, and the fact people can't buy it, you know, unless it's good to have a little outlet in Australia that, if people want to get some product, it's here. You know what I mean? So
excellent, buddy, excellent.
I'll just chuck something quickly at you.
Yeah.
After the copper discussion on your podcast, we've had a bit of a reprieve here in Victoria, and I think the copper bullets are going to come into play. I think in 2008. I don't follow a lot of news anymore because it's all rot, but. So there's a company over here called Outer Edge that make copper bullets. So, and I've just been trying to trial. I've got a couple of boxes and just trying to trial and play with it. And they've suggested in what they've said to me was 3006 11 twist, 150 grain, 60 thou off the lands, 2208. And I can't remember 53 or 52 grains. And I've done my initial testing, and it's okay, but I'm thinking, is there any problem with mixing up the powders in that weight bullet, just to see whether, you know, different powders might just react a little bit better for the copper bullet?
I mean, you could experiment with a double base if you wanted to, but 2208 is a pretty good way to go. You do going with a faster with a faster burn rate in 30.06 with a lighter weight bullet. So 2208 is pretty good, but otherwise, yeah, you could probably try a double burner. But 2209, no, not really any advantage. 2206, 2206 would be good if you were working with a 130, something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
208 is the optimum type of powder. So it's just
Yeah.
about a maxing out feet per second, and suppose just working that off the lands or wherever its sweet spot is, and then whatever it comes out, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And then if you don't know anything else about the bullet, I think the most important thing is just if you do happen to take some longer shots just on ferrules, just go in really, really slow when you walk up to the carcass. Like, don't just rush up to it. Just go real slow, and then look at the entry, find out where that was, look at the exit, and try and walk back to find out how far the animal ran. Look at the size of the blood trail, then look at the entry, exit, and then very, very slowly cut the animal open. And then when you're putting your knife through the chest cavity, when you're cutting open the brisket, and also when you're doing the diaphragm, just go really, really careful with your knife work through the diaphragm. And then when you punch the brisket out, try and not damage anything. Then reach forward, cut out the lungs and all that, and then very carefully lift all that out. But look at the angle of everything first. Look at the wounding as best as you can, and actually see, was it proportionate to expanded caliber, or was it disproportionate? What we're talking about, a 2-inch wound or something like that. Yeah. And then pull all that out, lay it all aside, and then look at the entry wound through the ribs on the inside. Had the bullet showed immediate expansion? Because a lot of these companies, they'll fob you off by saying that the bullet is designed to expand right in the vitals and not expand as soon as it impacts. And they're trying to sell that to you like it's a good thing, but they're actually fobbing you off because the bullet it's resistant to expansion. It's too tough for the job. And so that it's producing delayed expansion. And so by the time it's actually dumping its energy, a lot of the energy is being dumped as it's exiting the chest. So look at your entry wound. It should be starting to show some expansion. That you don't want a caliber sized hole through a friggin' rib, and then look at your lung wounding and then your exit wounding. So just go really, really slow, and then as you're doing that, you're starting to work out what your actual maximum range is for that projectile. Like, how far can I actually push this to?
I think on my initial looks at numbers, probably I reckon 400 is probably going to be its max.
Yeah, and if they have a website and they show you recovered bullets,
no,
you
they
actually
don't.
We see, if you can see that, you don't really need much more than that, because if it shows a mushroom bullet, that 2200 feet per second is going to be the end of the line, because after that it's just proportionate to caliber, and if you miss the vitals, you're done. You're like, it's not going to reach out and produce a wound there. If it's shedding petals, it might be okay at 2200 feet per second, but it's still going to be pretty poor below that, because petal shedding is not a lot of extra energy. If it's shedding more than petals, then it starts to get interesting. You see, that's when it does. So.
Well, I'm hoping it won't. I'm hoping that it'll prevail, and we'll just have the science will say the right thing, and we'll keep our normal projectiles. But I'm just I'm nervous that might come one day where we have to use copper projectiles. So I'm just doing a bit of initial testing now, and just in case that ever eventuates.
Yeah, well, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because we're seeing a lot of corruption at government level, and then we were seeing in the US that they're uncovering all of that, and then over here in Australia and New Zealand, you're left thinking, well, how the hell do we get to that? From here, and people are just so in the Commonwealth. We're just so used to just politely nodding our heads and saying yes sir, no sir, and then we look at Trump wasn't, if you think about it, he wasn't really a Republican. I mean, people say, the Republicans are doing this versus Democrats. Well, he wasn't really a Republican. You can think of it more as a hijacking Because if people say, oh, the Republicans are just as corrupt as the Democrats, well, that might be true, but you look at Trump, he has hijacked it. He's come in and he's infiltrated it, and now it's a new thing. It's not what people would traditionally recognise. And then you've got RFK and the Tulsi Gap, all these amazing people, and you're thinking, well, how much money are we pissing out, and what's going on? You know,
I reckon. Well, I think. Well, it's Victoria, I think, and I don't know, but we're a $200 and $300 billion debt already. So where's it all gone? Where's all the money? You know,
so there's no way you can get to things like good science when you're in that environment where it's just so toxic.
Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, I'm preparing, ready. I don't want to get there and then it happen, and then you got to try and develop all. You know, we might even be kicked out of the Alpine. Who knows? You know, we might not be allowed to, because there's a big push over here to shut all the state forests and national parks down. So who knows what's going to happen? But so that's what I'm doing. So that was the only question I sort of had to ask. I predominantly use the 200 grain ELDX that we worked up together. And because I do alpine hunting, backpack hunting, I don't shoot any more than 400. You know, that'd be a long shot in the bush where what I do. So the 200 grain ELDX drops sandbar on the deck.
Good.
They don't go too far from that. So
good, excellent, bloody excellent. That's really good to hear.
How's Riley, Nathan?
She's been through hell. Yeah. She's all right at the moment.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, she's in Canada.
Oh, is she? Okay.
Where are you from, Dusty? He's not there.
You know, I'm here. I'm from Canada originally.
You bastards. So she's found a Canadian boyfriend.
Okay.
They met online a long time ago while she was crook, and then she's finally gone over to him, and they've actually eloped and gotten married, and so now I've got a Canadian son-in-law turning up in a few weeks.
Congratulations.
Well done. She's been on a journey.
She's been on a hell of a journey. She's really lucky to have him, because he knows what she's been through, and he's just there for her all the time. And she got sick in Canada. She had to go to emergency room. I mean, I don't know if the rest. Yeah, I think everyone here just about realizes she was vaccine injured with the Gardasil vaccine. She had so many injuries, but one of the things that was there all the way along too. So she's got the heart condition, so it damaged her heart. She had 2 sort of heart attack type things. We had to take her to the emergency room, and then her heart just went downhill from there. And she lost her eyesight, and she had severe endometriosis. She was infertile, joint swelling, brain swelling, so all the autoimmune stuff. But one thing we missed, and she had what's the name of it? Epstein-Barr virus, and it's just been percolating there the whole time, and then it blew out while she was in Canada, and it is something that affects these Gardasil girls. And so then I quickly went back to, because I've been compiling research, because we needed to work out what was the right course of action to take for her, which hospital to get her to overseas and all that sort of carry on. And one of the things with the Gardasil girls, when they get the Epstein-Barr virus, which is something that that most 90% of people actually get in their lives, and they get it through their system and it's gone, is that in these girls it becomes critical. It becomes acute, it damages organs. And so she got sick with that, and which must have been in her system, and then she got to the cold environment in Canada, and then it just sort of blew out. And she needed ivermectin. That was the drug that she needed, and so her doctor in the US tried to get it to her, and Canadian Customs seized it. So we've got to get her home and get her out of that environment and try and get her well again. Yeah, so she's been through hell. She really has been. Yeah, but she's happy. She's making a life for herself. She's got a partner that supports her. She's tough though. She's bloody tough. I think. It's this whole situation, this last few years, have really changed everyone's lives.
Yeah.
It really has.
Oh, it's good. It's good she's enjoying some sort of life, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, she's planning a whole life ahead for herself. You know,
Good on her.
Yeah, she's yeah, going to start her own family, but they both want to live traditional values and
Good on them.
yeah, try and sort of live some kind of a pioneering type. Well,
Okay.
yeah, simple life.
Excellent.
We'll see how that goes for them and try and support them through that. But yeah.
What province do they live in? What province do they live in?
They're on Vancouver Island. I think.
Okay.
How do you say that? Say the name of it. Mino. I can't remember how you say it now.
Oh, they're in Nanaimo.
Yeah, that's it. You got it.
Yeah, I know the place. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so it'll be a shock to the system. So we'll see if the son-in-law becomes a new tester and
Yeah.
Well, you might.
rifle bearer.
Yeah.
Gun bearer. So yeah. But anyway. Yeah, tough times, man. Bloody tough times. So yeah, it's put us through. It's been hard. I think we also lost traction in the business during that time because you know I put so much time into, well, what the hell's wrong with it? Is this real? And then talking to university scientists around the world, actually finding the data that had been deleted off the internet. That was first step. And what is this real? Yes. And then after it was yes, okay, this is real. Then the next thing was how do we fix this? And and it was hard. Yeah, just shit. We had some sleepless nights. You're terrified, just absolutely terrified of what was going to happen. Yeah, and you can't talk to anyone because you don't want to get into trouble. We've got a firearms business, of course, and you don't want to talk about anything controversial because you end up losing your business because you're not allowed to talk about that sort of thing. Yeah, so.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. So, again, there we'll see what happens in a few weeks' time.
Yeah.
One quick question, if you got a moment.
Yeah, Ben.
Yep. Did you cover in the reloading books a minimum burn percentage with running suppressors?
A minimum? How do you mean by minimum burn percentage?
With the reloading tools, they give you a burnt propellant percentage. Have you looked at what a minimum would be running a suppressor? Because I know you've said with really short barrels and the like, you can get unburnt powder in the suppressor and lots of issues.
Well, basically, the reloading manuals are already telling you which is the right powder, and that they're showing you the length. It's sort of, I mean, how much more would you want to add to that? Because you'd have to have some pretty serious testing data to actually get an exact number for that.
Yep.
So no, I mean, I haven't done that. It's just common sense, really. But I think Dusty and I were having this conversation a week ago, and I said, if that comes to that, then I think the key is to actually measure the suppressor. So when you get a new suppressor, get the calipers over it and get a recording of its diameters. Just measure it in a couple of spots, and then jot that down in your reloading book, and then you can come back to it later, put the calipers over it, and actually see if it's starting to swell and bulge. But otherwise, I just think, just don't push it too far. Like if you're going to cut right down, then do it with something that's efficient, like the 308. Don't go stupid short. Don't cut too short. That's the big one. But otherwise, try and keep within the boundaries of common sense. It's that trend is a New Zealand. The super short barrel is a New Zealand trend, and you got to remember that the whole generation, 3 generations of us used 25-inch barreled, 24.5-inch barreled 303s, or were they 25.4? That's what they were, and we were fine with it. I'm pretty sure this generation can handle a 20-inch barrel, surely. But then you put a suppressor on it, of course, it does come back out to 24. So that's when you start coming back a bit. or 25, something like that. But yeah, you do have to be a little bit careful with the powder, but it's just a matter of, you know, common sense, I guess. Yeah. If you want to get exact numbers, then you'd have to get exact measuring equipment for it, and I'm not going to do that. Yeah, not for that. You know. Yeah. Is there something you're running in particular?
No, I'm just wondering in general if there was a general guideline, but it seems like keep it common sense and would do well.
Yeah, and you see it like with the 308, with 206 in particular. As you're cutting down to 20 inches, you're losing about 25 feet per second, depending on cartridge efficiency, depending on the individual case. But once you go below 20, you start losing 35 feet per second, and that starts to climb up from there. So you're already seeing that change in efficiency there. So, you know, as you're getting to 18 inches, you're starting to push it, and then as you're getting shorter, yeah. I know that in some situations it can be really, if you're in really, really tight bush, or someone's really slightly built, like a very small, slightly built female, and you want to run a suppressor, that is, then that can be. If you're not running a suppressor, then there's no need to be cutting down to those lengths at all, because you want to get the noise away from you. So, you know, 20 inches would be your minimum. But if you're running a suppressor and you do want to come down, I would only do it if there was a specific reason. Like I remember there's one spot that we hunted where to get into this place, you actually are crawling quite a bit to get to it. It's just such tight bush to get over this ridge, and that sucks. But you know, that's quite a unique sort of a thing. But yeah, you just got to be careful, because the other thing is you're putting stress on threads at that length. Although when you cut down super short, you can cut a narrow thread. I mean, you can cut a fat thread because you've got quite a bit of barrel to work with. But if you do cut to a narrow thread and you go short, let's say M14, which would be fine at say 20 inches, it will eventually swell. But at 16 inches, M14 is, you know, you're starting to put a lot of strain on it. You've got thin material there. So those are just things you got to think about, you know.
Thank you.
No, that's all right, Ben. That's cool. I would just say just be careful. It is a New Zealand thing, and I don't want to be mean about this, but it was started to sell magazines. That was the basis of it, not to make your life better as a hunter, but it was an article in a magazine, and you know they're always looking for new angles in the magazine. So that's where it actually got its start, and then it sort of went from there. And yeah, I know they are bloody handy, but there are consequences to that. So, yeah.
Out of curiosity, Nathan, what is the weight on the average barrel? Like, say between 18 and 16. What is the weight when you chop it off that you'd be saving? Like, I know, like, it doesn't really bother me the weight, but I was just wondering. I know it's a pain in the ass walking around with a longer rifle, but.
All right, let's get a bit of barrel. All right, here's a 1 inch. Where's my scales? Get some scales. All right, I've got a 1 inch piece of barrel, which is about the right diameter in my hand right now. It's 7 mil. Is it 7 mil? Yeah, I think it is. No, actually, no, that's 30 caliber. And we've got some scales. Let's have a weight of it. This is going to be in grams. Let's have a look. 30 grams. So 60 grams is for 2 inches. So if you cut from 18, so anyway, we're looking at 30 grams per inch at that, roughly. Might be a little bit more. Might be up to 50 grams if it's quite a fat piece through there. But I'd say more around 30 grams. So yeah.
And I guess it kind of goes back to that the comment you made in one of your books, is that long 26-inch barrel or rifle seems a lot heavier than that real stumpy 18-inch barrel, but it's the same weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
that it's just that perception that they seem heavier.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I mean, like 60 grams is nothing. Like you won't even notice that.
Yeah. That's exactly right. But I think for some of the guys, there is a concern about length in the really tight bush, and then you do have shooters of a shorter stature that just want to keep everything down. But I guess that helps with that. But you get so short that you end up where if you're using an over barrel suppressor, it's going to start cutting into your fore end as well. And then if they start altering the fore end, and then the suppressor sits against the fore end, then you're in deep shit. Yeah, especially those full over barrel suppressors. They if your fore end's touching that, you're kind of done, really. Yeah, accuracy, hit and miss accuracy. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, so, but not really my cup. I can understand why, though. To have something like that, but you got to be a bit careful of it. And I think just monitoring it is the key. And cleaning. That's the big one that we talked about, Rusty. Is just every time you shoot it, as soon as you're finished, you get it as quickly as you can and get that crap out of the barrel and get the muzzle clean and swab the chamber, because the shorter the barrel, you've got so much more carbon caking that chamber. But that rifle that came in here, that was that length, it was just black. Yeah, it was just shit.
Yeah.
And so I cleaned it with calcium lime rust as CLR.
Yeah. So after you put a patch through of CLR, what do you clean the rifle out of with CLR?
So
after?
that was I think I just used alcohol after that, and then I went to CRC Long Life, CRC SP-350. Yeah. Yeah, that was a ticker stainless, and the CLR does actually dull the stainless a little wee bit, but no. Let me correct that. If you leave it in for a long period of time, it will dull it. But if you just go in and out with it, you're only in there for a few minutes and then get it out. By the time you've swabbed the barrel again, it's pretty shiny. And by the time you run a cloth around the muzzle, just even on your thumb, it shines it back up again. But you've got to get it out. That one was cake though. But if you're just out in the field and you fire a few shots, come in, and then just get the CRC 350 through it, the long life, and just swab it till your rag is relatively clean. That just gets it all out of there. But yeah, so the very short barrel suppressed rifles, the concern is carbon caking, muzzle thread swelling, and how much gas you're actually getting in the suppressor, and is the suppressor under stress, and what we're looking at with that. So yeah, it's just there's the same old problems that you normally have with a suppressor, but they're just compounded. That's all, and just things to be mindful of.
Yeah. Sweet. Thanks, mate.
Cool. No worries. All right, guys. Well, I think that brings us to the end, eh?
All right.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks,
yeah.
See you,
Till
mate.
next time. See you.
Thanks very much.
See you, Dave.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
See you, Dusty.
Thank you.